My name is Chad Gamble, and I'm a drummer for Jason Isbell in the 400 unit. I started playing music at a very young age. I was probably 4 years old or so when I got my first drum, and it was just a little plastic drum that my aunt thought I might like. My brother at about the same time was getting interested in playing piano, and he already kind of played harmonica a little bit. So we came from a musical family from my dad's mother, who was very talented singing. She played piano, danced. And then my dad, he had a great record collection that my brother and I would just scour over and spend time with. And then eventually my brother and I started playing just as a duo in our basement, him playing keyboards or piano and myself playing drums, just to whatever we could muddle through with just the two of us. I spent a lot of my college years playing in bar bands. Some of them were cover bands for what all the college kids were listening to. One in particular, though, was more of a blues band. It was called Salty Papa. And we actually would end up being a backing band for blues artists down in the Tuscaloosa area, East Mississippi area, and do festivals. After college, I moved to Shreveport, Louisiana, and played with a touring band called the Bluebirds. Did that for about a year and a half, and then moved to Memphis and began hustling gigs on Beale Street. My brother was already up there playing, and I slowly worked my way into that after playing with a guy, Blind Mississippi Morris, a harmonica player, Reba Russell, blues singer, and then on to playing house gigs on Beale Street with my brother. And then eventually we formed a Gamble Brothers band and put out 3 records, did some touring. That probably began to kind of fizzle 2007 probably. My wife and I had moved back here. She's from here as well. But I took a year off and did got a day job. I sold ads for a phone book, and I wasn't very good at that. And the day that I ended up quitting that job, the very next day, Jason called me to see if I could fill in on some gigs. So Jason and I are both from the area. He's from across the river or in Green Hill, and I'm from Tuscumbia. Jimbo, our bass player as well, is from Sheffield. However, I'm a few years older than they are, so we didn't really cross paths until later on, and certainly didn't know of them growing up here. The first time I met Jason was in Memphis. He was playing a gig with Patterson Hood at the High Tone, and I went up and introduced myself to him. He probably doesn't remember that, but the next time I saw him, he came and sat in on a little jazz gig I was doing here, or in Tuscumbia. He remembers that, I know. But that's kind of how that relationship started. So winning a Grammy this year was a huge deal, to be recognized on a national level like that. Probably more excited than myself was my wife. We were sitting in the crowd, and this was the daytime. I call it the daytime Grammy because it's not the part of the big show at night that you see on TV. But we're sitting in the crowd. We've already kind of resigned to the fact that we're probably going to lose against the late Greg Allman, which was, if you're going to lose to anybody, that would have been A-okay with me. And when people say it's an honor just to be in the category, that's probably never been more true. My wife, I can't explain accurately the joy, because she was just bawling, crying as soon as she heard the name. That probably made me feel more proud and validated than any trophy. It was just her, all the sacrifices that she had made for the past, we're coming up on 20 years of marriage here. So most all of it's been a sacrifice. But to see that and to know that I was doing something right, that made all the difference in the world. And then, and like I've said it before, but that it's much hers as it is mine, probably more so. Probably one of the biggest career highlights was doing Letterman, and we did it 3 times. But for me, in 1984 or 85, I had my first TV in my bedroom, and it was just a little, probably 16-inch, black and white, knob-turning antennas. But I would stay up every night to watch David Letterman, and this is as a 5th grader. And I told myself, watching that show every night, I was like, I'm going to be on this show someday. And sure enough, I mean, that opportunity came, and I was on there 3 times before he retired. And then he and Paul Schaefer also came to Birmingham, and were doing a Habitat for Humanity house building in Birmingham after the tornadoes a few years ago, and wanted to coincide their wrap party for that with a show that we were already doing at Workplace. So Letterman was there in the audience, came back and hung out, backstage, and then Paul played with us for probably 6 or 7 songs, and we did all Muscle Shoals songs. In describing the Muscle Shoals sound, you hear people say it's in the water. That becomes kind of cliche, but I think it's really true. What I tend to focus on more is groove. Take any of the drummers that are from here and do any kind of recording. Roger Hawkins, there's never been a better groove drummer, in my opinion, than him. People like Mike Dillon and the younger cats like Justin Holder, fantastic groove drummer. I feel like that and the bass is pretty much where it comes from. David Hood, my cohort, Jimbo Hart. When you find a duo of a bass player and drummer that can lock in, and that makes all the difference in the world. The advice I would give any young person starting in the music industry is, and you don't want to hear it, but persistence is key. There's nothing that will take you further than pushing yourself and sticking with it, I feel anyway, and it certainly has proved so for me up to this point. But that's it, you get out and network and go see all the live music you can, and that's how you get your foot in the door. And once your foot is in the door, you don't stop, you keep going, and even harder. It helps to have a good band or a good songwriter leading your group. It certainly is our case. But yeah, that's it. Persistence, persistence, persistence.